All right. Well, welcome to our extreme, well, maybe I should call it this, the very, very strange power hour. Y'all ready for this? Are you ready? First of all, the word of the day is words. So good. Words. So I'm going to read this to you. Let me set this up. Okay. Words. My words are creative and powerful. I choose words today that will support my highest good and that of everyone I encounter. So I thought it would be powerful, first of all, to take full advantage of this time. I do not have a PowerPoint because this was not part of the plan, but I know there are many of you on here that have asked me before, what you always talk about 5-in-1ing your finances, and what does that look like? And so I thought I'm just going to give you just a few minutes of that to help you understand. And then I'm going to challenge you to do a power hour, hopefully later today, so that you are able to actually get the essential work done. So because I am going to talk about money for just a moment, OPTAVIA makes no guarantee of financial success. Success with OPTAVIA results only from successful sales efforts, which require hard work, diligence, skill, persistence, competence, and leadership. Your success will depend upon how well you exercise these qualities. Please see the OPTAVIA Income Disclosure Statement for statistics on actual coach earnings. So I want to talk to you guys about this. So I know a lot of you, just a repeat real quick, Facebook is down right now. So that is why I'm talking to you about this. Yes, I am in my car because we can work from anywhere, right? Even podunk towns that don't have internet, even at the local stores that would normally have internet. It's just kind of the universe talking to us, right? Like this like moment in time. And so I want to talk to you guys about 5-in-1ing your finances, really putting yourself in a winning position and really making sure that you are giving yourself the best choices. So Michelle Heyman, I can see that you are on. Is there any chance that you can read that post from Doug Wood that we were talking about? You sent me a message about. If not, I can read it, but I would love to have you come off and share that.
Let me pull it up real quick.
Okay, tell me when you're ready. So guys, okay. 5-in-1. 5-in-1 is a time when, Michelle, raise your hand when you found it, okay? 5-in-1 is a time when we cut back, right? 5-in-1 is that time when we're like, okay, I am going to do the uncomfortable. I'm going to do what it takes to get into fat. We require this of our clients. We ask ourselves all the time, hey, you know, I'm going to give up some of that good, some of that tasty, some of that convenience, some of that habit. I'm going to give that up for a season in order to create that which I want. So today I'm going to awaken you to a little bit of what's possible. Just a reminder, Facebook is down right now, so we're just taking advantage of this because a lot of people have asked me, you mentioned 5-in-1ing your finances all the time. So what I'm referring to is taking your finances and leaning out, just like we would in Facebook. So some of the things are not Facebook, excuse me, in our bodies, but some of the things I'm going to cover is, one, how do I lean out? What's the difference between an investment and an expense? So I need y'all to hold me accountable because nothing is written here. So if I forget those things, I want, and then also just some of the possibilities. And I really love this post that Doug Wood put up just the other day. And it's in true Doug Unplugged fashion. So some of you just hold on, you may be offended because he's very direct and unplugged. And some of you are going to be like dancing in your seats. Woohoo! I'm so glad he said that. So Michelle, go ahead.
Okay, awesome. All right, so just listen carefully. All right, so this is what he wrote. I honestly chuckle when coaches, some of you, tell me that you don't do OPTAVIA or coach for the money. It's just for fun. As they proceed to tell me that their husband does very well financially, so they don't need the money. Then I ask, okay, how much is well off, or does your husband make a year? They say 500,000 plus per year. Okay, I'm like, okay, not bad, but still baby money in my opinion, as it took them 15 to 30 years to make that type of money, plus the risk and time it cost them. Then I ask, how many people they or their husband have helped make 100,000 plus or that type of money and duplicated themselves? Are they the richest person in their town or family? They then proceed to say, correct. They have not helped one or very few people do what they have done or even close to it. And people think they are too good for OPTAVIA. I think OPTAVIA is too good for people who have attitudes that they think they are above what we do. We give life and hope to people in all areas. I am OPTAVIA proud. Coaches, your OPTAVIA business grows when you stop being ashamed of what we do, and it's who we are. But again, it's easier and safer to save face to our friends and ego if we act like OPTAVIA is our side hustle and just for fun, when we know deep down inside it is the best and coolest thing we have become a part of, and now it's the answer to your dreams and future. It's called the ego tug of war, identity versus newfound purpose. Stand proud and stand firm, my fellow coaches. Stop apologizing for your passion and OPTAVIA and join the many of us who are crushing it financially and step over to the good side of abundance. The water is warm. The Kool-Aid tastes pretty good. Drink up. But then again, for many, it's easier just to make the same $3,000 to $7,000 a month and relax and not take this to the, I'm sorry. But then again, but then again, for many, it's just easier to make the same $3,000 to $7,000 a month and relax and not take this for that seriously. If you want to move a boulder forward, it will take focus and lots of effort and manpower. But once you get the boulder moving, it's hard to stop. So once again, Gina, you're muted. Income disclosure statement. We already reviewed it. These were big numbers, but pretty awesome.
And the thing is, guys, I will tell you in this, first of all, how many of you are standing proud? How many of you, maybe you're not there yet, but you know it's possible. You know, we'll post it in our team pages so you guys can have it. But how many of you know that that's what's possible for you? How many of you understand, while there is, I think the integrated presidential, what is it, like 0.1, Michelle, something like that. Someone could pull up the income disclosure statement and look at it. But here's what I know. Those people that I have, okay, I'm all over the board. Here's what I know. I have seen more people create more than $100,000 a year in income in OPTAVIA than I have in any other company. In any other company. Does that come off the sweat of hard work? Have we talked about excellence is found in the mundane? 100%. But I have to tell you guys a little secret here. There are a lot of people that come to this company. They come to OPTAVIA just to lose some weight. They happen into an executive director business where they're making somewhere around $2,000 to $3,000 a month, and they think that that is all that's possible. And I want to tell you, there's so much more. There is so much more, and so many options and choices on the other side. But that gift is not meant for just you. It's meant to be given away. You know, it was a lot of fun for me to earn my first $100,000 a year. It was way more fun to help hundreds and thousands of you do the same. Way more fun. Way more. Lift lifting the lid off of the possibilities of what is possible for so many, taking others to a place they never knew they could go. Okay, giving so many choices, and that's just a scratch on the surface. That isn't even where we have taken many of our coaches. And so I wanted to put that out there, but I also want to talk about 5-in-1ing your finances, because as we work through these power hours, and as you are working through the system and you're building this business and you're assisting people and you're calling your clients every week and you're stuck in the mundane and you're like, dang it, it's Monday, Facebook is down, and now what do I do? Call your clients now. Throw them a whirl. Maybe you call your clients on Tuesdays normally. Today, call them. But here's what I see happen quite often is some of you are already making pretty good money. Let's even just pretend you're making 100K a year already in your regular 9-to-5. Or maybe you're making more than that. Maybe you're making less than that. It really doesn't matter. But here's what I see happen. Instead of 5-in-1ing your finances and putting yourself in front of everything, what I see happen is a lot of people start living bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger lives instead of taking the time to clean up their messes. And so when I say 5-in-1 your finances, I am going to challenge you guys to be smart with that you've been given. Maybe for you, it's $350 a month. And you're thinking, well, when I make $100,000 a year, I am going to clean up my debt. When I make $100,000 a year, I am going to do this. Can I tell you, I know people who make a lot more than that, and they live on a lot more than that, and they can't get out of debt, and they're making poor choices. And it's like, you know, 1 minute it was like, oh, if I could make $5,000 a month, then I could get myself out of debt and I could just be in the right place. I could quit my job. I could do whatever. Next thing I know, it's $15,000 a month. And we got to make $15,000 a month for me to quit my job. And then it's $25,000 a month before I can quit my job. And then it's, y'all following me? If you live above your means, if you spend your OPTAVIA before you even make it, you're never going to get ahead. And so I'm praying my computer does not overheat because I can hear it talking to me. Oh, Lord. Michelle, I'm going to make you co-host just in case I die. That sounded horrible. In case my computer shuts down on me. But here's really what I'm going to challenge you to do. Many of your leaders were on a call last night, and we talked about living in the 90s. What could you do in the next 90 days with your OPTAVIA money? If it's $350, do you know what? If you take your lowest credit card bill, your lowest debt that's hanging over your head, and you just take that $350 for the next 3 months and you pay it down, that's $350 closer each month that you are to getting that debt off of your head, that noose that's pulling tighter. Instead of spending that $350 extra or that $1,000 over the next 3 months on Christmas or Hanukkah or any other event, can I challenge you this year, let Christmas suck? Because if you do, every Christmas moving forward will be the best Christmas your family ever experienced. But getting out of debt, making a difference, it's like giving up all of the crap candy for Halloween, giving up all pumpkin pies, giving up. It doesn't feel good. It's not easy. People are going to tempt you. Black Friday is going to call to you. Spend with me. You have access. No, you don't. Get yourself in a place. Adam and I literally were $65,000 in debt when we made the choice to go 5-in-1 on our finances. And we made 2 choices that were critical. Decision number 1, sell the new cars. Get rid of them. And we literally bought a 1985 Toyota Camry. We called her the Roach. Okay, we actually called her the Prezimobile. My kids called her the Roach, because we knew that if we got ourselves in a good place, then everything else would come together. That's right, brand new cars, bye-bye, went extreme. Just so you know, we were still cheapos, and our brand new cars came up to the sum of $18,000 selling both of them. Okay, so some of you not so cheap. Some of you got $80,000, $90,000 vehicles, $150,000 vehicles. Can you live like no one else today so that you can live like no one else? I'll tell you guys a really funny story. The HR department lady lead at Adam's company that he ran, she's asks me about coaching. She's like, I hear you guys are doing really well. Let's go to lunch. I'm like, look, I don't do that. I do things over the phone. And she's like, I know, I just want to go to lunch, catch up. How are things going? I had to pull up in the 1985 Toyota Camry to talk to her about how financially well we were doing, eat crow, and it was worth it. Within 6 months, we were able to pay off that debt. Now, I will tell you this. In that 6 months, I got serious about acquiring clients. My frontline volume went through the roof, and every new client that I got was $100 towards my debt. It wasn't like, ooh, breathing room now. Okay, I chose cottage cheese instead of steak and crab legs. I chose to cut back and plant a garden so that we could eat the vegetables from that garden. Don't worry, my kids did the work to maintain it. I don't recommend you plant a garden in the fall. Okay, so, but do you understand, like, we got lean in our finances. When people asked me to give, I had to say no, because a yes to something is a no to something else. I took my kids out of private school. I knew it was only a season, but I had to do what I had to do. And we increased our income and we decreased our output, and we lived like no one else so we could get in a place where we could live like no one else. And we paid our debt off. 100% of the credit cards gone, 100% of the car debt gone. And then we saved money to buy a car cash that was a lot more reliable than said Roach. Okay, I still prefer Prezimobile because I knew what I was creating. We were baby globals, and I knew that I could create it. But here's what I didn't count on. Because I chose to live like no one else and get myself completely 100% debt-free minus my home. Here's what happened. When we were debt-free, the money was no longer spoken for. And instead of settling at a healthy BMI, I said, no, I'm going to save 6 months worth of income for an emergency. We continued to live off of OPTAVIA, paid all our bills, and saved 6 months worth of expenses. In the meantime, Adam left his career. We were no longer living off of Adam's income. We were banking it, but he didn't walk away until 6 months in. He could have left a lot sooner. We were making crazy money, well above the numbers that we were talking. But we chose to live like no one else. We chose to go for that better BMI when it came to health. We chose to put ourselves in a stellar position so that then when choices came up, things became available. Options like, hey, let's move back to Utah where our kids can actually know their grandparents, their cousins, their friends. We could move on a dime. 3 weeks after the decision was made, we were living in Utah. P.S. in our dream house that we had more than enough money and more than enough income to pay for and still continue to bank month over month over month. See, when you get yourself in alignment, you put yourself in the steps and in the places for the new people to come in. We moved into that neighborhood and we moved into another level. And all of those people were living above their means in these beautiful homes on the top of the mountain, pretending. And a refreshing breath of air every day. don't have to live like this. Come play with me. And all these doctors and all these lawyers and all these realtors and all these title company people that I was living around, all of a sudden were like, you mean I don't have to live chained to debt any longer? No, that doesn't have to be a way of life. And I watched my influence grow, and I watched the hope pour out. And in the meantime, each one of you began growing and pouring in. But 5 and 1 in your finances is referring to just that. Live like no one else today. Be willing to humble yourself. Be willing to show up in the carpool line in the Roach. Be willing to pull up to talk to people at church and not be wearing designer. Some of you have a designer problem, but you don't have a designer paycheck. Some of you live in Utah where there are no designers, and so it doesn't really matter. You're welcome. It's a gift. Okay. I see it in my neighborhood right now. They're all driving Mercedes-Benz. They're all driving high-end Audis, high-end BMWs. They're all driving like fancy Land Cruisers, and I'm like, you can't even afford it. What are you doing? Why are you putting yourself in the position? They're becoming slave to the master called debt. You do not have to live that life. So here's the other thing that I'm reading a really great book, and one of the things she talked about was so many of us are living the life that someone else put upon us. Someone else would be really great nurse anesthetist. Someone else told you you would be really great at being a teacher. Someone else told you that it's only noble to be a stay-at-home mama. That's the only way it can be noble. Someone else told you that unless you are a pastor within the 4 walls of a church, you are no good, not worthy, not good enough. And I'm here to lift that off of you, because maybe, just maybe, that is their blocks, their wall, their 4 walls. What if I had listened to my father, who told me we were stupid for letting Adam quit his job? I was stupid for walking away from a 17-year career that was stable, the income, I was happy. What if I had let his 4 walls control my whole life? Y'all, I had school debt. We paid it off. I had business debt to the tune of 65 grand of that, okay? 25 of it was from my business that I was killing it. Everybody was envious of. From the outside, people were like, woo, woo, so cool. Yeah, that ain't cool. You have a gift in your hand, but some of you are letting someone else own this. They're owning your life. They're owning your decisions. And guess what? Here's the thing. I shared this last night. Maybe, just maybe, what you're doing today isn't working. Maybe, just maybe, it's time to say, it's okay. We would never force our kids. So we would never force our kids to keep going in something they hate. I always challenge my kids, start a sport. If you love it, stay with it. If you hate it, at the end of the season, you may quit. You made a commitment to a team. You complete your commitment, but you don't have to keep doing it year over year over year, because you started in soccer, because you started in basketball. Why do we do that to ourselves? Why not look at that university and go, wow, I learned a lot. I look at my Mary Kay business and I go, holy crud, did I learn a lot from Mary Kay. I learned how to hustle when I needed to hustle, how to love when I needed to love. I learned how to lead like no one else can lead. I learned how to find myself, find my value, and know that no amount of money, no amount of ranks, none of that is equal. It was better than any amount of money I paid to the University of Utah for a nutrition degree. Better. I look at Michelle and I go, that woman went to school, I think 6, 7, 8 years. I think it was 6. She could correct me. She's like, I don't even want to talk to you right now. I thought it was 6. Okay. And yet she loved what she did, by the way, as a client. She loved what she did, but it wasn't paying the bills. And guess what? She loves this more. But if you don't put in and put yourself in a position to get yourself out of there. So some of you really don't understand this. Take the lowest one, not the highest interest, whatever is the lowest one, pay it off. Once you're done with that one, I want you to just roll to the next one and to the next one and to the next one until you can look up and go, oh my gosh, there are butterflies and dragonflies and I can breathe again. I'm not drowning. I don't need a client. I don't need a coach. I can enjoy this world. And by the way, that comes from Dave Ramsey. It says debt snowball. Okay. It changed my life. We were able to then start in retirement. We were then able to make some choices. A lot of you know that OPTAVIA pays so well that we made some different choices. So in addition to retirement, we were able to say, what else do we want to do? How else do we want to impact this world? How else do we want to give? I know I want to give my kids, I had a crazy dream. I want to buy 7 houses that will generate income so that my kids will either have a choice to live in those homes or generate income for them when I pass away. Isn't that crazy? It was the craziest thought. How many of you think that thought? Most of us don't. See, when you start, your goal is one thing. It will morph and it'll morph and it'll morph and it'll morph. And that was my goal. It doesn't mean it'll be yours. It doesn't mean you'll do the work that it takes to get there. Because I can tell you, as I, and I know our other leaders are on here too. I can only see Michelle right now. I can tell you this. I worked many a 12-hour days. Michelle Heyman, many a 12-hour days. Are you willing to put in that kind of work to create the choices and the freedoms that we have today? I look at the Heymans and I go, wow, 100% debt free. I still remember earlier this year, us celebrating her paying off that final bill. I still remember her saying to me, oh my gosh, Gina, what car should I get? My lease is ending and I know I should probably buy a car. What car should I get? I don't know. What do you want? Well, I have this much in savings. I was so proud of her. I have this much in savings. And I said, that will pay for more than a car, Michelle. And she said, I know. So what car should I get? How many of you want to be in that position? How many of you want to be in the position where your kids can say, Mama, I want to go to college, but I am scared of the debt? What if I don't like what I go to school for? By the way, I think the percentage is like 73 to 75% of the people who graduate with a degree, the ones that actually graduate, by the way, don't ever do the profession they went to school for. And yet they have hundreds of thousands of dollars in debt. How many of you would like to give your kids the gift of not having that? See, we show up. Excellence is in the mundane. We show up day in and day out. We compromise. There was many a day when I stepped out of a movie theater, of a dinner, to do a health assessment for a new coach, to do a celebration call for one of my coaches. There was many a day where I was willing to be inconvenienced, knowing that this is the day that I could go do what I want, when I want, how I want, where I want, and not have to look at price tags, not have to look at, should I go, should I not go? But to be able to make decisions on a dime because the work was done. So I don't want to paint this pretty and say, oh, you can make hundreds of thousands of dollars a year. Just sit back and do A to Z commenting and call it good. 1 hour a day, that's going to do it. Nope. Be willing to do what it takes to increase your income. Work closely with your mentorship team. but more importantly, go all in on getting yourself in a position where every paycheck actually belongs to you. This is another thing that I see. I see a lot of people need more and more and more and more and more. So I did a call with a coach the other day, killing it. And they are making over $100,000 a year in OPTAVIA. But she makes $150,000 a year in her career. And so she said, well, I can't leave my career until I make $250,000. Were you making $100,000 were you making $250,000 prior to OPTAVIA? Like, how did you live on the 150? And what are you spending money on that you're spending $150K a year on expenses? Anybody else sitting there thinking that very thought? Like, what is it? Come to find out, they have no house payment. They've already paid their house off. They have no car payment. They've already paid that off. They have zero credit card debt. Okay, who spends $150,000 a year on food? Because that's all you got. Dates, some clothes. TJ Maxx is great for the next year. None of us are getting younger. Even the young bucks are getting older. You're missing out on the life that you could be living. I said, if you're spending, because we did do the math, if you're spending, let's say $3,000 a month on food and clothing for two of you, does your OPTAVIA already pay for that? Yes. Awesome. Do you have a savings account? Not really. Here's my challenge. The next 90 days, I want you to put every dollar you make from your job in the bank. Any extra you have from OPTAVIA, I want you to put it in the bank. Christmas is going to suck for your kids, and that's okay. They're adults. They can finally take responsibility. And ooh, I just said it. They can pay for their own this year. They can take care of their own kids this year. You found a way to do it when you were their age. They'll find a way too. But you put that money in a bank and you set yourself up to win. And guess what? Next year, you'll get to be fully present with your kids because you won't need that JOB because you'll have 6 months worth of savings, because you really only need $18,000 in the bank if it's $3,000 in expenses. And yet you're going to have all 24 hours to yourself. You're going to buy back your life. You don't need $250,000 to live. You only need $3,000 a month to not change your lifestyle. And you're already creating more than that. Many of you on this call are already creating more than that. Because you're doing the work. You're showing up day in and day out. You're doing what it takes to create that business. But some of you on this call, this is all brand new news to you. Some of you on this call are like, crud, I've been squandering. You can look in the rearview mirror and beat the tar out of yourself, or you can look in the windshield, look at the possibilities that you have. What's available to you. And you can get busy doing the things that it takes to build the income. Okay, it takes A to Z commenting. It takes working groups. It takes that bold confidence that Doug was talking about. It takes all the things to make it happen. But if you're willing to do the work, if you're willing to follow the system, if you're willing to call your clients when they don't answer the phone, y'all, our largest leg of business would not be here if I hadn't been disciplined to weekly call a lady who never picked up my phone call. I talked to her 3 times in a year. P.S. She sent me 2 referrals. We only talked 3 times in an entire year. I called her every week through that year. Best discipline action I ever made. I wasn't connected to whether she answered the phone. I was connected to doing the activity, because you can't put love out and it not come back to you. It was an investment of my time. I was paying for a nanny to watch my kids. By the way, in that season was the season that we were driving around in the Roach. Michelle Heyman signed up as a health coach while I drove that beautiful brown, I'm not telling you this part, I forgot about this part till just now. Brown 1985 Toyota Camry. I think we paid $300 for it, but then we had to put $700 into it to get the motor to run. Never been damaged, never anything. The first day we own it, I back out of the driveway in our 10-passenger van and backed right into the side of the car. So not only was said brown Roach awesome, but that Prezi Mobile had a big old friggin' dent in the side of it. So she was lovelier than lovely. Was it worth it? Yep. Did it suck getting into that 5-in-1 fat burn? Yep. Was my pride, my ego tossed on the line? A lot. And on the other side, I can tell you, worth it. My kids get to live like no one else because I chose to live like no one else. My grandkids will get to live like no one else because I chose to live like no one else, but I also chose to work like no one else. So I can see, Denise, you've got your hand up. Did you have a question or something you wanted to share?
Yeah, I think I'm in Facebook jail. How do you know if you're in Facebook jail or if you just got cut off forever? How do you know a difference?
Oh, okay. So just so you know, Denise, Facebook is down.
Oh, really? Okay. I
Not
was
in jail
driving.
state. Yep, you're
Facebook is
not
down
in
for
jail.
everybody? Oh, good. I thought it was.
Everyone.
What's that
That's
about?
why oh, sorry, sweetie. That's why we are having the random 5-in-1 Your Finances training, because I've been asked a lot. You mentioned this is why. So y'all can't work right now, but you can be on to learn. Larry, did you have a question?
I'm actually, if I could share with what you just been talking about, the
Sure.
season I went through this year. That you guys know, a lot of you guys know, I left my job at the beginning of this year. This was a big move for me. The end of last year, I was freaking out, and Adam helped me through it with multiple phone calls. I was freaking out because, I was a supporter of my family, and then I finally got to a point that I was comfortable in what we were making monthly. And I had already done so many of the things that Gina had said about debt and saving money and all of this, right? But I had a big season coming up this year. I had 2 kids graduating. We had to go back to Wisconsin. We had all these trips. We had a family graduation vacation for 2 weeks in Mexico this year. I had all these things that were already planned, and I knew this before I was leaving my job. And so when I was leaving, I had all these things and all this expenses that was going to happen. Plus, got the privilege to go to Mexico. That wasn't for free, right? I had to come up with that too, right? And so, there was all these things, and it was just like, okay, well, I'll tell you, having all this in front of me, it drove me, right? It drove me to say, Larry, you gotta work, right? And I did. Okay. Well, we got through that season like halfway through July. Well, I myself have noticed, and I'm going to be a little vulnerable here. I have noticed that since July, getting through the season, and I weathered that, right? I don't make tons of money, but I weathered that with just being this hobby, right? This not hobby, but and I weathered it, and it was proof to me of like, bam, and it's just seeing the growth go up. And then, but I'll tell you, being vulnerable here in July, I let off the gas pedal. I've taken it a little easier, and I've noticed. And so this is the part that I do want to share with you is I have to refocus. Last night's training was awesome, but I couldn't figure it out until today, right? With you sharing. that I had a reason that drove me. What's my next reason? What's my next 90 days? What's the next thing that's going to drive me to get to what's going to push me to do more? What's my next thing to tackle? I have to have those or I will let up off the gas pedal. So, yeah, thanks, Gina. So awesome.
And Larry, I'm glad you brought that up because hopefully my internet is working. Oh, okay. Thanks, Michelle. So I'm glad you brought up this. I'm going to let you guys share in just a moment or ask questions, but I'm glad you brought up Mexico because there are expenses in a business or there are expenses in life and then there are investments in life. Mexico is not an expense. It is an investment. Convention is an investment. Okay. Michelle Heyman had to make an investment in her future. She would not even be here today has she not invested in convention before her other bills. It was an investment. Okay, there are investments. Technically, business cards are an expense. Now, some of you are like, say what? That's right, it's an expense. You don't need that to grow. You need to be around people that will blow your mind next to someone at a pool, in a hotel room, in those lobbies, in a convention where they're speaking truth and light and life over the top of you. It's not the same catching a recording. It just isn't. And so understand there are investments that you make in your business and there are expenses that you make. By the way, a car is not an investment, just so you know. It's a lifestyle thing. I learned that with the Roach. Whether you ride in the back of the plane or first class, doesn't matter. It gets you there. Whether you're on a rapid rewards ticket or some sort of ticket, or you paid for it, just get there. Get yourself in the space of those leaders so they can pour into you. They can help you grow. That's an investment in you and your business. Cheryl. There you go. Can you talk to us? Do you guys hear her? I don't hear her.
It shows she's off mute, but we can't hear her.
Cheryl, why don't you click on your audio and see if you can work on it. And then Lori will let you share.
All right. So Gina, I'm a big Dave Ramsey fan, and so I love that analogy, and I think it does relate so much to what we do in weight loss and in our health. So I did just want to share a little bit about where I'm struggling, because I feel like I did the 5-in-1 finance, with my finances like in my 30s, and now I'm in my 40s, and I'm working very part-time as a CRNA by choice. But I find like in the past, like money really motivated me in terms of like getting out of debt, saving for a house, like all those big things. And not that I've like arrived by any means, but it's like you get comfortable.
Yep.
So it's definitely going to take some level of passion, and I am passionate about helping people, but I'm having trouble finding passion to make more money at this. And I do want to, like, I know that I do want to. I would love to replace my CRNA income. But before, like when I wanted to become a nurse, I became a nurse. When I wanted to become a CRNA, I did it. I worked a couple of jobs. I started my own business as an anesthesia provider. Somehow this is different. Like I do want it. But something's different about it, and I'm not sure what it is. And if like you've heard that before, have experienced that before, just for some reason, it's harder to break through some of the barriers. And maybe it's because more of it depends on me. Like, obviously I have amazing mentors, but they can't do it for me. They can show me how, and they have. So I feel like the wave's been paved. Like I see what's in front of me, but something is totally lacking, like within me. And I think I have the passion, but maybe it is passion. I'm not sure.
Well, and so new level, new devil, right? New level, new devil. So once you put yourself in a position of now I don't need OPTAVIA, now I don't need my CRNA, it changes from me. There's a shift, there's a pivot that occurs that moves from me to we. I don't need to be here right now.
Right.
And to be honest with you, most people who have been integrated presidential, as long as I've been integrated presidential, are on a beach somewhere, hanging out, sipping Mai Tais, saying "C'est la vie." I don't show up for me. I show up for we. And so I think what will switch for you, Lori, is sitting with your mentors and asking, why are you holding on to your CRNA job? What is it? Is it that I love it? I'm passionate about it? Is it that I'm good at it? Is it ego? Is it freedom? Is it like, what is it for you that's causing you to give up that time each month to stay there?
Yeah.
Right. So I think it's a processing thing that you're going to have to go through and understand. Because here's what I think it is. You're part-time, you're making really good money. And over here, this isn't part-time where you're at in the business, because I know where you're at in the business. So it isn't part-time right now. So that means I got to get busy to get back to where I am. But the truth is, by doing that, you are going to be the breakthrough for hundreds of thousands of people who don't have what you have, who don't have the freedom, but that might not trip your trigger. That may not be the thing that gets you out of bed every morning. And so you've got to kind of walk through some of that with your mentorship team to see, like, what is my next step? How can I impact? What is it that I am passionate about? Because they'll help you walk through that. For me, it started off with wells in Ethiopia, because my children would not even probably have been available for adoption if they had had access to clean water. But because they didn't have access to clean water, their life took a whole different spin. And some of you on this call might be saying, well, it kind of worked out for them. And I'm saying, no, it didn't. It really sucks. And that tripped my trigger, Lori. That got me excited to go, how many wells can I build in Ethiopia so no one else, no other kid has to walk through the trauma that my kids walk through because of dirty water? Boom, I'll get on this call. I'll do what it takes to build as many wells as it takes in order to create that. How many kids? Ethiopia is now closed. Now, I'm not saying any of you give a rip about Ethiopia, although I know a lot of you on this call do. But Ethiopian adoption is closed now. I look at that and I go, but there are still 4 million orphans not being funded. They don't have a government foster care. 4 million children not being taken care of every single day, living on the street, eating out of their trash. Children. It's really hard to go to sleep when you think that could have been my kid. So I get up every morning and I do the work and I find ways to help reputable companies take care of those babies. And I don't mean babies like in infants. I'm just talking about in general. And so that, I know my work, my helping each and every one of you is connected to one more life saved, one more difference. So I don't know why you hold on to your CRNA. Only you know why. But what I do know is there are hundreds of thousands of people that can't have what you have because you're holding on, because you're not willing to do the and then some. I'm not picking on you. She works hard, guys. Like,
Yeah.
I'm just
Yeah, and I wonder
Just
if it
putting
is
it
just
out there.
like I wonder if part of it too is just that leadership piece, learning to, learning to become a leader who can lead people who need what we have. I mean, I think that's part of it too, because like I do recognize, like I think it's crazy that our leaders show up and do this. Like for a while, in the beginning of the pandemic, I wasn't even doing power hours. I didn't even really realize what it was or what you guys were offering. And now I'm just like, I can't believe you guys do this every day. I mean, it's amazing. So I'm glad it's not like a get rich quick. It's, obviously we come here to work, and I think we all who come here see the value. So, so now I know I have a good thing. And now I just know that I have to find a way, a passion, the leadership to move forward in it. So.
And here's the thing, leadership starts with trust. And last night we talked about this, trust within oneself, trust with your new coaches, your senior coaches, and then moving forward to your executive directors, then moving forward to your FIBCs, and then moving forward. You don't just become a leader, you have to walk through those leadership ranks. It's just like a new coach that comes in, and that new coach is like, I don't know how to be a coach. And you're like, but can you set timers and drink water? It starts one habit at a time. But Lori, you have the capability. You know that already. Many of you on this call have the ability. It's just surrendering to the process and saying, okay, I'm going to just surrender and trust that the people who I am supposed to impact and connect with will be laid before me, and I will get to pour into them in a way that Gina can't pour in. I look at it and I'm like, look, I pour into you, but so does Kelly, so does Jen. Right? You have other leaders, and you need different pieces from each one of us. That's what's so beautiful about this process. And your team is going to need something that only you can provide to them. They'll get from us. Mm-hmm. But it's like this, I have 7 children. Do you know I don't love any one of them less than the other? Even the turkey butt that makes my life impossible, I still love him fiercely. My love was not divided and less than, and all of a sudden I couldn't love, I went from Caden to Brooklyn. I didn't love Caden any less when Brooklyn came into this world. My love expanded. That's how abundance works. And so your leadership will expand as you begin to bring more and more and more coaches in, as will your finances. See how I just went full circle? That was pretty epic.
Hey, and I'll end with this. I love Dave Ramsey's analogy. He tells people if they pay off their mortgage, they can always get it back if they miss it. And I feel that way about the 5-in-1. When people are scared to lose too much weight, I want to be like, well, it really is okay. You can always gain it back if you lose too much. I mean, as if that were going to be an issue, but I always find that funny. Want to make that analogy. So anyway, thanks for sharing, Gina.
Oh, Lori, I love it. Okay, Cheryl, let's hope this works. Then Trina, and then we're going to call it a day. Who knew we were going to spend an hour on training?
Can you hear me now?
Hooray!
Yeah?
Yes.
I just have some really, really, really great news. I went to the doctor today because I hurt my back on Friday, and I got on the scales, and 6 months ago I was at 205, and today I'm at 162. Now I've been on the program for months and lost so far 23 pounds or 22 pounds and 27 inches. So a lot of that 6 months ago or 5 months ago was a lot of steroids that I was on, because I had just come out of the hospital and was on steroids for COVID. And he looks at me and he says, you're still on prednisone, right? And I said, yeah, but only 5 milligrams. He said, Cheryl, people don't lose weight when they're taking prednisone. I said, I do. And he took blood. He wanted to take blood so I could see if I can get off my pre-diabetic medicine, cholesterol, high blood pressure, and there's another pill that he wants to see if I can get off of. And he was just, the best thing to do is to make your doctor proud of you. I've been going to him for 30 some years, and he was just ecstatic with me. And my blood pressure was 127 over like 80 or 75 or something like that. It has never, ever, ever, ever been that spot on, ever. I've always run high, always. And the nurse that took care of me before the doctor came in, we're going to talk. She's interested in the program. And the phlebotomist that took my blood is interested in the program. So I may have 2 more clients just because of my doctor's visit.
Oh, so good. So good.
I'm so excited.
I love it. Thank you so much for sharing.
You're welcome. Thank you for.
All right. You're welcome. Trina.
Hi. So real quick, I hear like when you say, you give the example of like when you needed daycare, like childcare for your kids, you figure out how many extra clients that might be, or like a lawn guy, you figure out how many extra clients that would be, you know? So I always tell my husband, I feel like there's something I'm not getting. He said, ask Gina. So I am. So like when you want to get a specific number of clients, like for something like that, you know, where, well, that would be this many clients or whatever. That's the thing. I feel like I'm doing the actions, you know, I'm doing the power hours. I'm doing, I do about 3 to 4 a day. I do my follow-ups. I'm consistently following up, which is awesome. You know, I'm doing the dripping of the coaching. I'm doing the things. So is it just doing more of those things? Like, I guess my question is, when you have like a specific financial goal, right? Whether it's a new rank or something you want to pay for or whatever. And then you figure out, okay, this is how many clients it is. Is it really just seeing what sticks out of those options? Or is there something specific that you do in a moment like that, you know, that you kind of realize this is what works?
So I think, yes.
Okay.
So I think it's going to be twofold. One, it is, let's say it's a crazy number. Like I'm not saying anybody needs to make $1 million a month. Okay. I want to do something crazy, because if you have $1 million a month in expenses, you're doing it all wrong. That would be way too many clients for you to personally call. I'm just saying.
Yeah.
But I knew that I needed to make $11,900 a month in order to get myself out of debt real fast.
Mm-hmm.
I knew that. So I was willing to temporarily run that kind of volume. Just so you guys know, it was 109 clients.
Wow.
How many of you would love to actively call 109 clients? It took 2 days, 12 hours. It was insane and stupid and the worst decision I ever made. But it was the best decision I ever made, because it got me out of debt. And in the process, we didn't have the system back then. We didn't even have celebration calls back then. But in the process, I was so busy looking for coaches to multiply my impact. See, 1 client at a time is addition. It's 1 + 1 = 2.
Yeah.
But if I could help 50 clients and I could help one of my coaches help 20, now 70 people were being helped, but it wasn't taking me the time to help that many people. And so I started to learn, wow, that's where celebration calls kicked in. That's where this system and why we ask you to do what we do when we do. All of that plays in. So partner with your mentorship team instead of running around thinking you've got it all. I'm not saying you do this, by the way, Trina, so this isn't a direct target. But many people are so, I'm going to use the word, so cocky, so egotistical. They run big businesses outside of this. They make big money outside of this. Maybe they were successful in some other direct sales company and they think they got their crap together. And I'm here to tell you I was one of them. And the truth of the matter is, humble thyself and be willing to just literally trust the process, because the process will generate your future possibilities. Okay. And so Be willing to humble yourself, introduce your mentor, and shut up. Quit trying to compete with your mentor or think that your mentor is trying to take your coaches or your clients. They could really give a rip less. They're trying to multiply. They're not trying to add. We do not friend request or comment or do any of that stuff to take. We do it to bless, to create abundance, to blow your business up for you, because then you can run it. In the meantime, partner with that mentor, hand in hand, hip to hip, run together. And in that process, follow the system to a T. I have yet to meet a person who didn't follow it to a T and not succeed. We started this off with someone saying that, oh my gosh, I finally started following the system and you were right, it works. Just like 5 and 1. Anybody have a client that hasn't lost any weight on 5 and 1?
Yeah.
Ask enough questions, you'll find out. I'm not sure what the one was. It's the same thing. Be willing, line by line. Some of you have never even read the system. Can I challenge you? Since Facebook isn't working, you got nothing better to do? How about you read it from head to toe, start to finish? Do you know people spend more time coming up with numbers to win a lottery than they do on the very thing that could potentially not only change their own life, but change the trajectory of their generation after generation for themselves, their neighbor, their best friend, their cousin, their uncle. And yet you're not even willing to read it. Don't print it. Can I just tell y'all, don't print it because we make changes all the time. Read it. I love it. I'll get text messages. Oh, you made a change to the system. I'm like, see, people are paying attention. Why are they paying attention? Because they use it as a checklist. Did I do this with this client? Did I do that with this client? Did I do this with that client? Okay, so this was so not part of the plan. Thank you, Facebook, for providing us more than an hour to spend time. Trina, did that help you with your question?
You did. You did.
Okay, I just want to make sure I don't leave you hanging. But we had this time to really talk about getting yourself in a winning position. And I hope that all of you are going to make that choice to get yourself in a winning position. Be willing to do the work today so that you can live a life like no one else tomorrow. We appreciate all of you. I appreciate that you gave me the time. I'm going to tell you this, if you can't see it on me, I'm at least down 5 pounds. Holy crud, Texas in a car. Woo! I think I might have lost some weight with sweat. You're welcome. I know that was a great way to end this call. Live like no one else so you can live like no one else. We love you guys. We'll talk to you later.